What's going on, IDP junkies? We are back here this week on Shoot the Gap, the IDP Fantasy Football podcast here for Fantasy and Frames. I'm your host, Jorge Edwards. We got JT here, Mr. Justin Taylor at JT Orange on X. You can find me at Jorge B. Edwards on X, on Blue Sky, on Instagram. I don't even know. I don't know. Let me take that one back. I'm not sure. But anyhow, the point is that we're here to talk fantasy football. We're here to, indulge you in one of our delights here in the fantasy football space, which is, of course, IDP Fantasy Football. And today we're going to be talking about, this is a tongue twister, IDP ADPs that we're noticing in rookie drafts, especially rookie drafts that are in combined offense and defensive leagues. There are leagues out there, who that are rather all defense. I happen to be in one, love it. But I can understand how that can get a little bit monotonous. But there are a lot of you out there that, that you play in leagues where there's both offensive players and defensive players. And it's like, how do I compare value? What do I do here? What do I look for? When should I take them? When should I not take them? So we're going to go and we're going to talk about some drafts that we've been seeing and look at some of the information that's been popping up here and kind of help give you an idea of what the quote unquote market is for these players, as well as give you our opinions on whether or not they're maybe being taken too high or too low, and all that other stuff. And we'll get to that. But, right now, let's just get to this. All right, folks, before we get into our topic for today, I would be remiss if we didn't talk about what happened today. And of course, I'm talking about the Scott Fish Bowl news. And yes, JT, you are showing off your hat right now that says Scott Fish Bowl. Just to give you some background on the situation, and I'll obviously go into detail for those who are unaware. Scott Fish and Fantasy Cares early this morning said, tune in at 3:00 on the Fantasy Cares channel. We are going to be announcing the scoring for Scott Fish Bowl. And much like a lot of you who are participating in Scott Fish Bowl or are trying to participate in Scott Fish Bowl, hearing the scoring for many of us is like, oh my God, finally, this is like, one of the biggest tournaments in all of fantasy football. Yes, we get to finally have some pieces of information. We get to do mock draft shows and live drafts and participate in all these different, things and functions that just make Scott Fish Bowl so great. And so, of course, needless to say, I was ecstatic when they had announced the scoring. But I was getting off the train and I was walking to my car and I sat down and somebody had texted me and said, there's IDP scoring in Scott Fish Bowl. And I'm like, shut up. That's not funny. Don't mess with me that way. And they're like, no, it is. And so they showed me a screenshot of the scoring graphic. And I'm like, oh my God. So I go on Twitter and I'm just like, oh my God, it's finally happening. It's finally happened. IDPs in Scott Fish Bowl. And as soon as I send that, I put my phone down, obviously trying to be a somewhat safe driver. And I'm driving. And it's like an hour into my drive and I'm like, all right, I'm in bumper to bumper traffic. Let me see if I can get some more information. And all I keep seeing in my activity thing or my comments is like, nope, not IDP. Check again. You're going to be horribly surprised. Not IDP, not IDP. And I look into it and it's like, it's not IDP. It's Travis Hunter scoring, not IDP scoring. It's basically, everyone out
Travis
there knows
Hunter premium scoring is basically what we're at right now.
Exactly. Travis Hunter premium scoring. And I'm just like, what? What is this? And basically, for those of you who are unaware, Travis Hunter, a lot of talk about him playing both as wide receiver and a cornerback in the NFL. Obviously, that's what he excelled at college. The Jaguars had said to him before the draft, that's exactly how we would want to use you. Go figure. They traded up to the second pick. They drafted him. And we're seeing the reps from practice now. Did you see that video, by the way, where he pass deflected with the ball, but then caught it for the interception? It was like a thing of beauty. And so because he can play both of those positions dually, Scott Fish decided to incorporate some IDP scoring into Scott Fish Bowl so that if Travis Hunter makes a play on defense, that scoring will then translate into his offensive production, which I first of all, I think is fantastic. The fact that the letters IDP in that order are on something Scott Fishbowl official is a lot, because for many years, the IDP community is always like, yeah, man, we there should be IDP fantasy football players in Scott Fishbowl, and for various reasons, that's always been, not, I don't want to say shot down, but that's always been like something that hasn't happened. And so to hear anything IDP related is very rewarding. But man, I was yeah,
it's a win.
It's a win. It's a win.
Right?
And I was like very up here, but then when I found out it wasn't that, I was like very here. But now I'm right here. Now I'm a solid. This is cool. Let's see what happens. What does this do to his value and his projections? And I'm sure there are plenty of sites that are number crunching and have already done so, that are going to tell you based off of the scoring, our projections for Travis Hunter, are X, Y, and Z. That notwithstanding, I'm excited. I'm excited. What about you, JT?
Yeah, I've been pushing Travis Hunter for 2 years now. I'm loving it. So here's the thing, Jorge. We are gonna get something in Scott Fishbowl eventually. It's coming. It's coming for IDP. So I'm also part of the college football fantasy community. We pushed. We got the Tadpole Bowl this year to go with Scott Fishbowl, college fantasy football on Fantrax, to go along with Scott Fishbowl. We have it this season. First one, I'm in it. I'm trying to decide. You can see my Missouri Tigers behind me. I'm in the Missouri Tigers division. I might be moving divisions. I'm trying to see if I can go to the Atlanta live draft at the end of June. If I can, I'm going to make it to that, because live drafts are where it's at, people. If you don't do live drafts, I'm sorry. Live draft online, yes, you can look up all the time, and you have all the time in the world to figure out how you want to make your pick and make adjustments. But doing live draft is pure. I love it. I love doing live drafts. So if I can make it there, the Tadpole Bowl would be fantastic. If you're in college football, I think they still have some spots open. So go to Fantasy Cares, go to Scott Fishbowl, check it out, see if you can sign up. It's going to be awesome. So we do not have IDP yet in Scott Fishbowl, but Jorge,
yes,
I did get signed up for a Fantasy Cares Eliminator.
Ooh.
That was all IDP this year.
What?
No. We're creeping in. We're going to get some IDP going. So our buddy Mace is the host of that one. It's all IDP, no combined. This one's not a combine. It's just all IDP. So we got one in. So we're working our way in. So last year, Jorge, was the first year they did Fantasy Cares FC Eliminators on the college side. And now we have a Tadpole Bowl. I'm hoping this means we're going to get an IDP Bowl next year. But here's what we do. We got to get more people playing IDP. If more people play IDP, then they'll get into this. So I think there's a chance that maybe we can get a sub IDP division, something in Scott Fishbowl next year going. So keep an eye on it, people. We're making our way there. If you have not gotten in a Fantasy Cares FC Eliminator, short for Fantasy Cares Eliminator, get in there. If you win your Eliminator, you can win your way into Scott Fishbowl. It's also a great way for charity. Throw $10 in the bucket. A lot of them are best ball. So even if you like, oh, I'm in too many leagues, I just don't have the time. Hey, you're drafting in June, July. Most of the times the drafts start in July. It's a best ball league. You draft it, you sit it, forget it. You see what happens at the end of the year. And the best time to do best ball is charity. That's my favorite one. Do charity leagues. You jump in, you donate 10 or 20 bucks if you can, and then you draft, you have fun, you meet new cool people, and then you see what happens at the year. You don't. Most of them don't even have waiver wire runs, like nothing. You just draft your team and see what happens. So if you can do that, do that. I suggest everyone jump in. But the Scott Fishbowl scoring, like you said, came out today. And I posted it on a couple Discords I'm in, and people go, "Oh, have you been on Twitter yet?" I'm like, I just saw it. I'm like, I literally just saw it on a Discord. I posted it here. I was getting ready to jump on Twitter, and people are like, people are losing their mind. They think it's IDP, and none of these people know anything about IDP, and people are freaking out. So I jumped on Twitter, and I was like, oh, people are losing it. They're like, IDP? Well, I have to know what player am I drafting when? Like, people were freaking out in the first like 30 minutes after it came out, and then they like finally it's settled. People were like, oh, he just means if you're an offensive player who scores defensive points this year, we're going to give you points for defense, but we're not drafting defensive players. So it's this is the hashtag, or I guess if you want to say it, asterisk Travis Hunter year.
Exactly.
So now the question is, last year was the special teams year. Hey,
right.
Kick punt returns were through the roof. Hey, if you can find a guy that's a cheat code, maybe you can win. Now it's Travis Hunter cheat code mode, but also we're doing Travis Hunter cheat code mode in a year we've never seen it yet. He's a rookie. So now the question is, how high do you take him? Where do you draft him? Does he go first round? Does he go number 1 overall? Again, you don't know. You don't know.
Right.
Like, I think he's going to be great, but is he worth in a 1-year tournament like the number 1 pick? Like, it's going to be crazy. So I kind of like it. I'm hoping this is just opening the door, Jorge. We're getting it there. We're getting close. We're getting close to a full IDP in one of these tournaments. So I'm pumped about it. It got people freaked out though, but no, people were losing it. I had people messaging me like, JT, yeah, start telling me about IDP. What do I need to know? Who do I need to take? And I was like, okay. I was like, and then I got out there and I realized it was like not a full IDP, but people were losing it for a while. It was hilarious.
You did mention something that I do want to give a couple organizations a shout out. You mentioned charity leagues, especially those that could have IDP in them. IDP Iggy, he puts together the FF7s each and every year in support of Kawasaki disease. It is like it is a great tournament. First of all, it's a cause that I did not know anything of until I signed up for the league and made the donation. It's just great. It's great seeing the diversity in different causes that people can choose to support. I think the more causes that we can reach out there and help, I think the better off a lot of us will be. And of course, the autism awareness, IDP and IDP guys plus now invitational each and every year. Just a fantastic job that Nate Cheatham and the guys do over there. So those are 2 charity organizations, charity leagues that have IDP in them that, even if you're not like the most hardcore IDP, they're still a lot of fun. And people find those types of leagues kind of like less intimidating in doing something that they haven't done before in playing IDP versus playing in a league where it's like ultra competitive and money's on the line and all this other stuff. Like, these are leagues that are meant to have fun first and foremost, while supporting a great cause, and also potentially introduce you to something that you didn't know that you enjoy. We got a comment here from Sean. I don't get the reference, so JT, I'm gonna let you help me figure this one out. He says we need a axolotl bowl for IDP. What is axolotl? I don't know what that is. Do you know what that is?
I have to be honest. He's got me lost. I'm not 100% sure what he's meaning there. If you give us a little more context, Sean, I would love to answer that. I'm not sure what that is. But to your point, Jorge, these charity leagues are the perfect time to get into IDP if you never played.
Agreed.
Again, do you want to win? Yes. Everybody wants to win, but they're fun leagues. You get to meet people, get to meet new people. I've played in both those leagues, IDP Plus and the FF7s the last couple of years. Super fun leagues. Had a great time in those leagues. Now that we're talking charity leagues, Jorge, I have not told you about this yet, but now's the perfect time.
Perfect. All right.
I won a extra spot for anyone I wanted in the Warrior Bowl this year. for my finish last year. I want to give one away to one of our loyal fans, our watchers, our listeners. So this week, what I'd like to set up, I'd like to get you set up here on Fantasy and Frames, where we do some kind of contest, wherever you want to do, however you want to handle it. And I know I'm throwing this at you, and maybe we need to talk about it a little longer later.
No, let's do it. Do it.
I won my Warrior Bowl division. I didn't win it overall. Came close. Had a hell of a team, but I won my Warrior Bowl division. And as the winner, I got a free entry for whoever I wanted. I could either handpick somebody, a friend or something, but I thought it would be kind of cool for us to offer up anybody that listens to us, watches the show, maybe hasn't had a chance to play in one of these charity leagues, which, I mean, I'll be honest with you. I've met so many cool people, so many people that are now like legit friends, not even online friends, like legit real life friends from playing in these charity leagues. And again, they're going to a good cause and they're just fun. They're just fun. People interact. They're great. So we're going to put that together this week and see what we do. I'm going to talk to the guys at the Warrior Bowl. They just sent me an email a week or two. I meant to bring this up a couple weeks ago. They sent it to me, and I was like right in the middle of a move, doing a bunch of stuff. And so I kind of got behind, but I was like, I wanted to bring this up to you to do a giveaway. So we'll figure out some kind of contest or way we can get people to enter. Maybe it's subscribing to the page on the podcast on YouTube, do whatever, and then we can put a mix together. Maybe we pull a name out of the hat of everyone that has subscribed, or all our people. We'll figure out something. But I would love to get somebody new in that Warrior Bowl. The Warrior Bowl is a fantastic one. Scott Fish Bowl is like the king, but man, there's so many other good ones out there too. Warrior Bowl is great. I've been in a couple of years. So I'd like to give away a spot in the Warrior Bowl. I think that'd be really fun. And if you don't have to be from Europe, but a European one that's really good is called the JTT Cup. And obviously I'm a JT. So I had, as soon as I saw it, I was like, I got to get in the JTT Cup. That's another one really fun. They're looking for people to jump in now. Check them out. Look at my Twitter page. I have them on there as well. But JTT Cup is another really fun charity league that I've been in for multiple years now. But that'd be great. Sean said here, he gave us the example of
yes, they put it on screen.
Dude, Sean, you're teaching me right now, man. I had no idea. Weird amphibian creature like all of us IDP degenerates. Jorge, that needs to be somebody's team name right there. Axolotes. That needs to be an absolute IDP team name. I want to see a cool. You know what I'm going to do later? I'm going to look up pictures of that. I got to figure out what that is. I got to look that up. I was like, that needs to be my team name in the IDP leagues now from now on. I'm like, I love that. Thanks you, Sean. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like you're going to get like people in your various leagues. What does that mean? And it's like, Google that. You'll find out. We should talk to Zach or Jim about making the axolotl. Am I saying that correctly there, Sean? The official animal for or amphibian for Fantasy and Frames, and like have it have like a little logo and be like the mascot. That would be pretty cool, I think. Assuming
it's
that
almost like us trying to pronounce all the Samoan guys' names on IDP defensive players. We jack them up and we're like,
yeah,
I love you. I'm sorry I messed Tuilapo. I always mess up your name. I love you. You're one of my favorite players. But that would be a perfect name for an IDP league where we make it where it's very hard to say and pronounce. It would just be like all the defensive players. Because all the stars, all the guys with the cool names play offense. All the dudes, the grinders. All the guys that don't get the recognition play defense. That's IDP, baby.
Yeah, I would love to know of a resource that can help me in learning to better pronounce and learn the Samoan language. I think Duolingo just is gone now. I thought I saw something like this week. It's no longer like active anymore. So if anybody has any suggestions.
My girlfriend and her daughter do Duolingo every night. They do Spanish Duolingo. Every night they're on it. Like we'll get to the night, it's like 11:45 and we're watching a movie. She's like, "Can you pause it? I gotta do my Duolingo before midnight, or it's gonna knock me down a notch." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I'm
right?
used to it now. I just stop. I'm like, "All right, yeah, here we go."
Hell,
Sean says you did it right, Jorge.
yes.
Winner, Jorge.
Yeah.
Pat in the back.
Winner.
A+.
Oh, axolotl dinner. Here we go. See what we
That's
did there?
right. There you
All
go.
right.
It's probably delicious.
Probably tastes like chicken, as does everything else in this world. But I digress. We digress. That was a lot of fun. Again, shout out to all these charity leagues. Shout out to Scott Fish and Scott Fish Bowl. This is the time of year, folks, where this is where fantasy becomes fun. Not that it isn't fun like every other time of the year, but like this is where like there's the least amount of stress associated with the fun. This is just fun for the sake of fun. So really get into it. Really enjoy the opportunity that these leagues provide. And Sean, thank you for teaching us something that we did not know, and we love that. Yes, we will also do the giveaway that you brought up, JT. I'll talk to the graphics guys here at Fantasy Frames who do like such an amazing job helping all of us from week to week set up studios and graphics. Zach, Jim, it goes a long way, and so we really appreciate all the hard work you do for us. And so we'll have that set up, and like you said, JT, we'll figure out a way to raffle this in some capacity. And yes, it'd be an honor to give away a spot in the Warrior Bowl because that is such a great tournament as well. And with that, let's get into some IDP, ADP rookie landing spots for combo offense and defensive leagues. Let's start with the Fantasy and Frames Dynasty League here. Okay, let's talk about that.
I was going to build right off that. Let's jump into that one. I'll build what's happened in my league since then.
Okay, so this was like right after the draft ended, right? It was that Monday after the draft had passed. And we had talked about this leading up to the draft, like who would be the number one overall in one of these offense IDP combo leagues. And we had been talking for weeks that Travis Hunter has to be the 101 in these type of leagues because the fact that wide receiver numbers can add to his overall points per game or points scored, just like cornerback numbers. So if he's playing on both sides of the ball, like you're getting like a combination of both sides giving you ample fantasy points that could shatter, the record for the week of the top scoring defensive back or the top scoring wide receiver. So that kind of made sense in terms of as well as the rarity that player and position would provide. Now, as we've gotten more into some of these, drafts and people have been doing more and more drafts, from your experience here, JT, do you see people still high on Travis Hunter in terms of being a number one overall in a combo league, or has that died down a little bit?
So I end up with that number one pick, not necessarily because my team was terrible, but I had taken over an orphan team for our league, and Rhett Manuel had somehow traded me that first round pick that I ended up with a 101. So I loved it. I was like, "Hey, thanks, Rhett. That's perfect." It was my only shot, literally one of only two shots to get Ashton Jeanty, and I took Travis Hunter. So here's here's what we need to talk about. This is the little caveat here, Jorge. How is he counting in your league? If you're on Sleeper did the right thing. Sleeper, they made him a wide receiver defensive back, which means you can start him as a defensive back. That's where the steal is. If you can start a guy that gets offensive numbers on the defense, that's where he's a unicorn, and he absolutely can be a league buster, a league winner. Now, we found out since then, my fantasy league is not going to do the same thing. So now you need to talk to your commissioner. My fantasy league is making him a wide receiver. So now he can still count for IDP points on my fantasy league, but the difference is now you have to start him in a wide receiver position and get the bonus of him also getting defensive points. Where the real steal is, to be honest with you, is starting him on defense. That's where he absolutely becomes magical for your team. If you can start him a defensive back position, I'm totally mad that I'm blanking on his name right now, but we had him on the draft show and we were talking about this, and he had done the math, and I'm so sorry that I'm forgetting your name right now. But he had done the math, and he said that if Travis Hunter got 3 catches for 30
Joe Harlow.
yards,
Joe Harlow.
Joe, thank you.
Yeah.
Joe had done the math, and he said, hey, if he averages 3 catches a game for 30 yards and doesn't even get a touchdown, and he gets like 3 solo tackles a game and like 1 like a pass defense or something here and there, that just those numbers alone would have made him the number 1 defensive back scorer in the entire NFL by far for IDP. Those are pretty small, low thresholds to hit. I mean, that's low. So if you can play him in a defense, and then if you're in another league that actually plays cornerback and you can play him as the cornerback as opposed to a combined DB, oh my goodness, he's going to outscore every cornerback by a boatload. So I've been trying to shout this from the roofs, Jorge, as much as I can. Talk to your commissioner before the draft. Make sure you know what they're going to do with Travis Hunter. Because I've seen people draft Travis Hunter and then they get real pissed because they didn't ask the commissioner what he was going to do. And then he's like, oh, no, you have to play him on offense. And they're like, what? He doesn't count as a defensive player. I wouldn't have taken him number 1 or number 2 overall if I didn't know that. Now, on the other side of that, I've been seeing him go top 3 or 4 in most leagues, even if they're just offensive leagues, like no IDP. So if that tells you anything about how special Travis Hunter could be, you're getting him going top 4, top 5. I mean, I have not seen him go later than 1-8, 1-9, I think, in a league. And that's just offensive league. That's no IDP. So he has gone either 101 or 102 in every league I've done, every IDP combined league I've done. If I'm drafting him, if I've drafted one, I've taken him. I've seen a couple leagues where he's gone. Ashton GT went 1 and he went immediately 102, but it's been either one. He's either going 101 or 102. And to me, it's a little bit of a downgrade if he has to play offense. Now you get the bonus points of defense, which is great, but the real steal on him is, can you play him at defensive back or cornerback where he gets the offensive numbers? Because now it's like you're playing an extra offensive player. That's where the steal in Travis Hunter is.
100% concur. Going forward, as we headed through this rookie draft for the Fantasy and Frames Dynasty League combo IDP offense, aside from that first pick overall that you made with Travis Hunter as an IDP position, we didn't see the next IDP go until round 3, pick 11. And we saw back-to-back picks. We saw Abdul Carter, who I personally think, and the way I like to approach IDP is, I thought it was the right move. I think you have to get some of these elite edge rushers on your roster while you can, because as we said many times here on Shoot the Gap, one of the things about the defensive line only position or these edge rusher positions is that you have like the elite ones. Let me get my hand right in the right camera setting. You have the elite ones, and then that cliff falls off very quickly, where it's like you're banking on a sack with no tackle upside. Whereas some of these elite players, they have a tackle upside, that established tackle floor on top of their big play potential. And of course, everyone by now has heard about just how good Abdul Carter is, how fantastic of a player he is at the edge position. Continuing that long line of edge rushers from Penn State, ironically, they all had the number 11, which I thought was kind of interesting. So I love that.
Well,
pick.
Jorge, there's certain colleges. I know you're not a big college guy. Yeah, I know you like Maryland, but you're not a huge college guy. East Coast guys, I've East Coast guys. East Coast, they kind of like college,
fired.
but it's
shots fired to the East Coast.
Well, I'm just saying the East Coast guys are very heavy NFL, heavy pro. Right. I'm from the Midwest, which is heavy college. Everybody still likes pros, but everybody's more college guy. West Coast, same thing. Everybody's more pro, less college, but Midwest and the South is college first, pro second. So there are certain colleges that have numbers that are linked to historic players. And if you can get that number, that means they think that you're a special athlete. So 11 at Penn State on defense is considered like you're the next stud from here. Syracuse used to do it with running backs with number 44. That was their big one. So if you got number 44, you were kind of blessed as a quarterback at Syracuse. If you get number 5, you have to be pretty special for them to give you number 5 as a QB because of the history of number 5 at Syracuse. So there's other colleges like that as well where they have kind of those, they kind of have historic numbers where if you are coming up through and you're like the next big guy, if they think you've earned it, they'll give you that kind of specialty number. It's not every school does that, but there's definitely some schools that have kind of like an homage to certain numbers that are like historic for the school. So that is why typically when you see those like LeVar Arringtons and you see those stud guys are all number 11 at Penn State, it's kind of become that like no, like that means you're the next heir apparent stud at that school. So that's why you see a lot of those guys being number 11 at Penn State.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for the clarification. I can't believe you not like just like me individually, and not just like people in the DMV, which I know you know firsthand. No, you had to take on the entire East Coast as like F those people. They don't appreciate college. I'm not saying you're wrong, but
they like college. It's just it's very more pro heavy fandom than it is college fandom. Like it just is. I have tons of friends on the East Coast. I used to live on the East Coast. They're like, oh, I'll go to a game here and there, but like where I'm from, it's everyone in town is tailgating, going to the game. I never even went to school there, but I live here, and it's just it's a little bit different in the South and the Midwest when it comes to college, especially college football, than it is in some of the other areas. That's all I was saying.
I will not disagree with that statement, although I don't want to speak for obviously everybody on the East Coast, JT, but I will say for me, that is probably more accurate than not. But getting back to the draft here, after Abdul Carter at 311, you went ahead and took Carson Schweizinger, whose name I probably mispronounced, as I kind of like stumbled with that and had a little lisp thing going on. Apologies. But you know, he is a linebacker who, for me, he is right there LB2 in this rookie class behind Jahad Campbell, just solely based on his pathway to snaps. Like Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah for the Browns suffered a really bad neck injury last season when he was on a tear. So bad that a month ago they've already declared him out for this coming season because of the severity of that neck injury. And of course, we wish him, you know, a recovery. Obviously, it's not going to be a speedy recovery, but just a recovery to having a good quality of life, let alone getting back on the football field. Just, you know, just hoping for the positive there in that situation. But now you have Carson Schweizinger coming over from UCLA. This guy, inside linebacker, this guy's a thumper. He's a good run stopper. He is exactly what you want, especially in a division where there's a lot of teams that like to run the ball. So again, the opportunity, the pathway to snaps. In terms of, so I said 312 is when we saw him go right after Abdul Carter. Is he somebody that you're seeing maybe going higher because of the Koramoah news, or is he kind of somebody who's kind of staying right around that draft pick area?
Yeah, so it's been very, very interesting depending on my IDP leagues, and this is one of the biggest things we talk about with IDP. It's really league dependent on where these guys go. I got him, and I took him. What'd you say? It was 312. I got him in our league.
312, correct.
I got him 602 in my home league.
Wow,
which is wild in a 7-round draft. But this IDP league, a lot of people were needing offense. We saw I probably saw the least amount of IDP players go in this draft since I've started this league, and this league's been around. Oh, I'd have to do the math. It's definitely been around over a decade, probably 12, 13 years.
Doesn't that feel good, by the way, to say like you've been a part of a league for like double-digit years? Is that just me?
Yeah, this is a great this one. I tell you what, I love this league. It's my favorite league. It's my home league. It's a full IDP, full roster. We're up to 50-man rosters. We do offense, defense, everything. This is one of the rare IDP leagues we actually keep a kicker. We have a kicker too. Everyone's like, "What? You have a kicker on your full IDP league?" Yeah, it's wild. But we started this league a couple years ago when we had never done auction. No one had ever done IDP, and I was like, "Let's try it." And I talked to a bunch of my friends from my home league, my home redraft league that turned into a keeper league, into it, and added some other buddies. But almost everyone's in this league is like, "This is our favorite league." But this year, defense in that league, typically in that league, the high-end defensive guys go like early third round to late third round. So like an Abdul Carter, like the top 3 or 4 guys. This year, because there were so many running backs and wide receivers and other people going, that IDP just fell. It just fell this year in that league. I got him at 602, and I was ecstatic about it. I just did another IDP draft where he went in the mid third round. So I think that's you're seeing him. So here's the big thing for me on him. Tackle heavy leagues, I think he has to be LB1. I just think he's going to get a ton of tackles. Now, Jahad Campbell, I love Campbell. I think Campbell is going to get you more like sacks, fumble recoveries. I think he's going to get you the bigger plays. So you need to look at your scoring there. He's also fighting a little bit in that Nakobe Dean, what's the injury there with him? Braun coming back. So personally, I think Campbell's a better prospect, but tackle IDP purposes, I think Swenger might be your guy you want first, especially if you need scoring this year. So I will be honest with you. I've gone back and forth between those guys. There's a couple leagues I took Campbell if I had a shot, and there's a couple times I took Schlesinger over Campbell, depending on the league scoring. If I'm in a league that has like 2.0 for a solo tackle, I'm taking Schlesinger because I just think he is set up to have 1,000,000 tackles, and that D line in front of him in Cleveland's pretty good. So I think he has a shot to have a lot of tackles. So, but again, you got to feel out your league. You know, like I said, I've seen him early to mid third round in a couple leagues, but I was shocked when he dropped to the 6th in my one league. But again, that league was crazy this year. Usually we see a ton of IDP guys go. I think we saw a total in 7 rounds. I think we saw a total of like 4 IDP guys. I mean, it was wild. I've never seen anything like it. We just had our first waiver wire run tonight. I just absolutely loaded up on the waiver wire. And this is something that we don't usually talk about, but I like to bring up. A lot of people want to hold their money on the waiver wire if you have a fab league. And I always suggest fab leagues to people because I just think it's the most fair way to do it. But that first waiver wire run, I go all out. I go all out for guys because I want to get as many guys I can get. So I'm pulling up my transactions, what I just got today. Wild in our thing. I was able to get Shamar Stewart for defensive end Cincinnati Bengals. I was able to get Malachi Starks, safety for Baltimore off the waiver wire. I was able to get Mike Green, Baltimore defensive end. And I was able to get Nick Scorton, Carolina defensive, all guys that got picked in the first and second round of the NFL draft. I was able to get every one of those guys off the waiver wire in my first run in this league tonight. I was super pumped. Those are guys that are typically getting drafted in IDP everywhere. This league just happened to be that nobody really jumped on IDP, so it never really started a run. I'm in another league. Somebody hit IDP early with Abdul Carter in like the second round. And then somebody jumped on Schlesinger early third. And then next thing you know, we saw third, fourth round was all IDPs. Everyone was like, bam, bam, bam. Everybody hammered them. So you got to be able to aware of where that kind of falls. So there was a lot of those guys in one of my leagues. We were going to go, I have my cousins, my co-owner in that league. We were planning on going a bunch of IDP guys in the third, fourth round. It went IDP crazy heavy. We just missed all on we wanted Amin Ware. Just missed out on him. He went like 2 picks in front of us. We wanted Derek Harmon for the Steelers. He went 2 picks in front of us. So then we ended up changing course and we said, you know what? We're just going to take all the offensive guys that have fallen to us, and then we're going to jump back in on the free agent waiver wire, which my free agent waiver wire goes through here about 10 minutes in that league. So we'll see who we get. But we ended up going defensively, or instead of going defensive, which is kind of where we aim, is like that's a 6-round draft. So we usually like to go 4th, 5th, 6th round hammer IDP and get guys there. Well, we went opposite this year. We just went running back, and we took a million running backs. And then we're picking a couple guys. One of our favorite guys, Stutzman, didn't get drafted. We were looking at him in the 4th round, and we ended up having a couple offensive guys drop to us. I was like, do we go Stutzman here? Do we go Stutzman? I was like, we'll wait. He ended up not getting taken. I piled on the fab money to pick him up. I'm hoping I get him here. I piled it up that he did not get drafted in this league. I'm stoked about it. Another guy who did not get drafted, I was a little shocked by. We almost took him again. A guy we looked at for 2 to 3 rounds was Barron from Denver. John Barron. This is a start cornerback league.
Oh, okay.
So, and you get a decent amount for passes defense and stuff like that. So I was like, I mean, we were looking at him forever. Like, do we take him? Do we take him now? Do we take him now? We ended up not because offensive guys fell. But then I just offered up. Well, I think we have a $500 fab in that league. I put up $100 on both those guys to see if I get them in stat. There is, depending on your league, some nice values falling. And if every league I just did a draft, and this is just my little suggestion to you, if you're doing your rookie draft, admit and say, hey, when's the first waiver wire run? Like, figure it out, know what it is, because I just have a list of all those guys in my queue in my draft, and I'm immediately writing them down and going, hey, I need to put bids in for these guys if I don't get them in the draft and they don't get taken.
You know, you bring up a lot of good points there, and I want to say that, you know, for those who are maybe not seeing the trend here in these combo drafts, is that whether it's an offensive player or an IDP, what do we look for? We look for the clearest pathway to more snaps, right? So whether you're looking at the wide receiver or in this case, for this draft class, very running back heavy, it's like, okay, I could get in a combo league Willie Marks, you know, or I can get Carson Schweizinger, who's guaranteed to give me tons of snaps, especially if I'm in a tackle heavy format. Again, it really depends on the format that you are playing. And again, it's one of those, you know, tell me if you've heard this before, you got to zig where others zag. And much like how you were seeing in the 3rd and 4th rounds, IDPs just go off the board and you're like, all right, well, I'm going to scoop up all these great offensive prospects. And here's the thing. And the thing is, I'll also say is that I just said the word prospect, and you know, technically they're not prospects anymore. They're drafted. They're NFL players right now. But I think, personally speaking, it is harder to project an offensive skill player's projection. Well, that sounded great, Jorge. Versus trying to guess what an IDP is going to do for you for fantasy. Because at the end of the day, it's like IDPs have or defensive players have defined roles, especially the ones that you want to use for IDP. Whereas offensive players, it's like, well, Emeka Ibuka, let's talk about that, going into Tampa Bay. Like, all he played was the slot in college, right? And so now it's kind of like, well, Godwin was playing in the slot. So does that mean he's going outside, inside? I don't know. Is Godwin going inside? There's like so much ambiguity in that situation that we still don't know the answer to that. Carson Schweizinger, Emanware, Abdul Carter, James Pierce, who I've got high on.
Defensive guys where they're going. You know immediately those guys are playing.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to play. Like, rookie guys, offensive guys, you see the talent, but you're like, what's the role going to be? And how long is it going to be before it's a big role? Like, a lot of these defensive guys are getting in, and they're getting in there quick. It's rare you're waiting on more than a year for a defensive player that got taken in the top 3 rounds to hit. Most of these guys are like, if they get drafted that high, they're playing. Like, the whole plan is to put those guys in immediately and play them.
Yeah, which, by the way, Danny Stutzman, love the pick. Thought it's the right pick to make. But you know what? Demario Davis isn't going down without a fight. And he's been playing lights out since his entire career. So
And he might be a year away. He might, but also he wasn't a first or second round pick. So you're taking a little bit of a chance on him because he was, I think, was a fourth rounder, if I'm right. He was fourth or fifth. I know he was. I'd have to look it up real quick. All right, my waiver wire came through here, Jorge. I'm gonna read it off to you real quick.
Who did you finagle?
So I was able to get Jahdae Barron. This is a start full IDP, high scoring. We start defensive tackle, 2 D linemen, 3 linebackers, 1 cornerback, 2 safeties, and a flex. So
all right, what do you got?
I was able to get Jahdae Barron, who I was looking at drafting in the 4th round. I was able to pick him up. Love that. I missed out on Stutzman. Upset about that. It is a defensive tackle start league, and right now my only defensive tackles are Cam Hayward and Canu Benton from the Steelers. So I needed somebody else. Tyleek Williams was out there. My cousin's also a Lions fan. Our family's all from Michigan, so we jumped out there. So I was able to get him in there. So I love that pickup in that format. I missed out on JT Tamalo from the Colts, but it's okay. I also was able sneaky pick right now D Winners on waiver wires for the Niners at linebacker. I was able to sneak him, and this one's for you, Jorge, my guy from Illinois, Quan Martin. I was able to pick him up at safety to add the safety mix. So you got some nice guys here on the first run of waiver wires. Missed out on a few players, but got some nice ones. So I was pretty happy about that. But like I said, in my other league, I got Green, I got Scorton. I missed out on both of them in this league, but there's some guys available. So definitely, once your draft ends, jump in there, do the homework, write down guys that you missed on, and don't be afraid to splurge early on.
No, 100%. And again, like you were just alluding to, like after your rookie drafts are done, look at the waiver wire. Like you're going to find people still on there that have a clear path to snaps that are going to give you almost guaranteed production right out the gate and over the course of the season. That you want to, play the keep away game. You want to keep those players away. I don't care if you have, solid, players on your IDP roster already. Like, make some room. Get rid of your wide receiver 4s and 5s and load up on these elite talents, depending on your scoring settings. If it's big play, then go after the edge rushers first. If it's tackle heavy, go after the linebackers, the inside linebackers, and go after the defensive backs, specifically the box safeties. So just things to think about.
That's great advice. That's exactly what I did. I went through and looked at my roster. I'm like, who are like third wide receiver 3 or 4s on their team? What are running backs I had on my roster that were possible RB2s last year, but that are maybe out of the mix this year, RB3 or 4? I cut those guys that are still on the free agent waiver wire right now. It hurts my soul, but Julian Blackmon, for the former Colts player, I had to cut him at this point. If he's not been picked up at this point, he's going to have to fight for a roster spot, and he's going to need an injury to start. If somebody hasn't already gone out and signed him, the chances of him walking in and starting day one are not great. So, like those guys, sometimes you just got to move on from. Judon was a big guy. He was terrible last year.
That's a sensitive subject.
It's a hard one to move on from him, but if you look at the Falcons roster, it doesn't look like they're going to do anything with him there. He's going to not need to find somewhere else. So for me right now, it was worth dropping him for some rookies, young guys in Dynasty, and let me, kind of hold on those guys that are 22, 23 years old. Take a 21-year-old Nick Scorton over a 32-year-old Matt Judon, especially in Dynasty.
All right. Well, folks, that's going to do it here on Shoot the Gap. We got Fourth and Frames up next. Next week, we actually have a guest joining us, one of the OGs here on Shoot the Gap, a really good friend of, just a friend in general and friend of the show. You can find him over at the IDP show, talking, of course, about Mr. Green Dot himself. Mr. Mike Wohlert will be joining us to talk about some IDP sleepers heading into the 2025 fantasy football season. So make sure you tune in for that at the same time, 9 p.m. Eastern. And also, like I said, we got Fourth and Frames coming up next, where they'll be looking at the early wide receiver rankings for the wide receiver 2s, 13 through 24. So stay tuned for Rhett and Aiden and Kyle. They got you covered next hour. Thank you all very much for tuning in to all of our programming so far today. And again, if you haven't had a chance to, or you're catching the tail end of the show, go back and watch, or if you don't have time, you got to go to sleep. I get that too. Wherever you listen to podcasts, subscribe to the Shoot the Gap podcast, and our episode from tonight will be there for you tomorrow. So for JT, I'm Jorge. Thank you all very much, and we will see you next week.